It's so great to be here today with some fellow entrepreneurs who have scaled their businesses with purpose and passion. Today, I'm here with Shazi Visram, the founder of Happy Family and the soon-to-be-launched Healthy Nest, and Damali Peterman, the founder of Breakthrough ADR. Yeah, that's right. So entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs are really known for creating solutions to the problems that they see around them in the world. I would love to hear from both of you what problem you saw that you're solving and what your why is behind your businesses.
Shazi. All right. Happy to go. So, this was about 15 years ago, and the problem I saw in the world was that our children were getting sick, and too many of them were getting too sick in an area where it just should never happen. And I realized at the heart of it is that we were starting our babies out on foods that were laden with chemicals and pesticides, and I knew we needed better. So I set out to change children's health, but with baby food. And I believe that you could change the whole world by focusing on the health of our babies, and so that was the problem that I set out to solve.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. As a mom of two, I appreciate that, so thank you very much. The problem that I saw was, as a lawyer and a mediator, I was oftentimes being called in to help resolve conflicts. And I realized time and time again that if people had some tools for communicating and problem solving, that they could have de-escalated their conflicts before they rose to the level of needing someone like me to intervene. I'm kind of like the Olivia Pope, if you will, of fixing things. And so for me, the problem was, how do we empower people to feel confident in resolving their own problems? How do we give them those tools? And I started my company to do that.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I think as a result, earlier we heard about the fact that there are more CEOs named David than there are women CEOs. And I think something that I struggled with as I was growing as a leader of my own company was the fact that I didn't have, a lot of examples of leaders that, had the style and character attributes that I do. And what I've learned over time is that really there are so many different kinds of leaders, and there are so many different strengths that can really propel you forward. I would love if you could each tell us a little bit about what in your personal background or what character strengths you feel like have helped you to grow and scale your companies.
Sure. So I have kind of a crazy background. I grew up in Alabama in a motel room when my parents immigrated here almost 40 years ago, and I watched them struggle as immigrants and entrepreneurs, and I watched them deal with 1,000,001 crazy challenges, and I always saw them figure it out. And so I had these really incredible role models in this very strange environment, and we navigated our way into life here and to making it work. And I think having strong role models like that has been probably even more valuable to me than an MBA, which I have, but it's like nothing like starting your own business, and it's nothing like seeing people before you show you that no matter how huge the challenge is ahead of you, like you can do it. And it's one step in front of the other. You don't lose heart, and you just are constantly thinking, like, how can I be creative to make this better, or to, solve a challenge that seems insurmountable, but the truth is everything's possible. And so that's been kind of my guiding light, is just knowing that regardless, we as humans are so creative. And I trust in everyone's ability to figure out a way to make it better.
Thanks. I'm from Washington, D.C., and my parents were yes, shout out to Washington, D.C. Great things happening in our capital right now. And my parents were very encouraging and inspirational my entire life. I'm the oldest of 7, which meant that I was the person who had to forge a lot of the path for those behind me. And so my mom always told me, like Tory's mom told her, that I can do anything that I wanted to do. And with that kind of power, I felt like I could do and be anything that I wanted to be. And so for me, characteristics that I think have really helped me as an entrepreneur would be being creative, as Shazi said, and also being flexible. Because you have to have some sort of agility to kind of, one, decide you want to go into entrepreneurship. It's not for the faint of heart. And you also have to kind of be able to shift courses because different things will arise and you have to be flexible. So definitely flexibility.
Absolutely. I mean, I think about when we were first starting Refinery, actually we were 3 days into launching the business when we realized the idea that we launched the business with wasn't going to work. So yeah, 3 days in and we had to rethink everything. So I think that that problem solving, that growth mindset is so critical. And every entrepreneur faces those challenges, those kind of moments where you have to rethink everything. Can you tell us about a moment where you've faced a challenge in your business that has been actually pivotal to how it's grown?
Do you want to go?
Sure.
Give me a second.
Well, I'll say that I have 2 businesses, and the first one I thought when I started my first company, I left corporate America working in a big law firm, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to start this alternative dispute resolution company, and I'm going to teach everyone how to do conflict resolution, and go. And so I opened the doors and I waited, but everyone knew me as an M&A lawyer. They wanted to hire me for what they knew me best for. And so I had to shift. I had to say, okay, follow the market. This is what the market wants. And then it wasn't until a few years later that I could actually start Breakthrough and do what I really, really wanted to do, which is create this global community of problem solvers to empower people to take the tools into their own hands and resolve problems. And so that kind of growth mindset, the agility and creativity we're talking about is huge, and being able to listen to what people say they want, as opposed to saying, hey, I sell widgets, buy these widgets, is really an important tool for all entrepreneurs.
That is so true. I feel like sometimes it is a challenge to find the space between having vision and having determination, but also listening and being teachable as you sort of realize what the market or consumers want. And that, straddling that balance can be an interesting challenge.
I have one of those stories too. So it took me almost 2 years to get launched, and I had this whole dream that organic baby food is going to change the world that I shared with you, and now it has. But think about like 14 years ago, and my whole thing was, okay, we're going to think outside the jar, and we're going to make frozen baby food, and it's just like what you would make at home. And so it's these little ice cube trays, and you pop out what you need, and it's like super beautiful and fresh and alive. And it took almost 2 years to get the money together and put it out and really make it special. And I did all the demos in the beginning. So I'm standing in a Whole Foods and the freezer line with a table doing demos. This is also like a week after launch.
Right.
And it's like nobody was coming to the table. And then I try to like grab someone and be like, would you like to taste this? And they're like, oh, baby food? No. And I was like, but it's actually just delicious food. If you think about it, babies should eat really great food the very first bite. I mean, you should try it. It's really good. And then, but you can't convince somebody to buy into your business if they don't want the products. I mean, it's cute to have a conversation in a store. After I had like 3 of them, I realized this was not going to work. And I needed to get out of the freezer because the moms weren't coming down the freezer aisle, and even when they weren't looking for frozen baby food. And while I had this dream to change the world with organic baby food and create kind of a more sustainable solution for all of us, it wasn't going to start there, and I had to rethink it. And so we started innovating in the actual baby food aisle, creating enlightened versions of things that were already selling well in mass. And it took a few years to get where I needed to be, to finally think, oh, now we have the solution, now we have the alternative to the jar. And it ended up being this pouch that kind of revolutionized the category. But sometimes, like, as much as you're dedicated to the mission, that's why you need to stay in it. But it's not like the creative solution and the answer, comes sequentially month after month. It was like 4 years of struggling and killing ourselves to get to that place where we actually found what would be that disruption that allowed us to now now the beautiful thing is it used to be about 3% of all baby food was organic. If you think about that, this when I first started, and now it's almost 40%. And thank you. And why that's special is it's millions of pounds of pesticides and toxins that aren't going into our babies' bodies and into our soil. And so, but sometimes you got to stay the course, and it takes a while to get to the place where you're really making the change you first imagined.
That's powerful. I mean, I think the why is fixed and the how is flexible. So, Damali, you are a Tory Burch Fellow.
Woo!
Woo!
Wow.
How has the fellowship changed your business?
The fellowship has been phenomenal. Any Tory Burch Fellows watching here, listening to my sisters?
A lot of hands.
It's a wonderful, I will say, community. Tory Burch is so amazing. You've seen her speak, you've listened to her. She is completely a real person, meaning she walks the walk, she talks the talk. And with that type of person at the helm of leading this movement of embracing ambition, it's just a wonderful place to be as a fellow at this time. And so 3 things that happen for us who are in the program and for those of you considering the program is education, access, and community. We receive an education grant that's phenomenal for furthering our education as entrepreneurs. I've already taken courses at Cornell and Stanford, and I'm looking for a writing course to take somewhere fun when we can travel again. And for access, as you've heard, to capital, access to programs, and the community is just incredible. From the foundation to the fellows to everyone who's here with us today embracing ambition. It's a wonderful community to have.
Fantastic.
So I'm a proud Tory Burch Fellow.
Shazi, I would love to hear, backstage we were talking a little bit about funding, and I think everyone in this room knows that while women control the vast majority of consumer spending in the US, funding to women is less than 2% of venture, and that's far less for women of color. I would love to hear a little bit about, how you've worked through that and some of the people that have helped support your business.
Yeah, so when I first started with Happy, I was an unproven entrepreneur. I did have an MBA, which actually I at the time, I felt that I needed to give me the credibility so that when I had that kind of big idea moment, I could go big and not run my business. Not that I had any disdain for what my parents did. I learned so much, but I was also like, I don't want to be a mom and pop. I want to go big. And so, but it was really, really hard. I think the hardest challenges in my business life, besides my personal life, interfering and being my business life, because it's all literally the same, has been always asking for money. And for money that I believed would create a really huge return one day, but it's really hard to quantify. And so in the beginning, we raised $550,000 from, I don't know, like 40-something people. Like the checks were as small as $2,500.
Wow.
I got turned down by women's seed funding organizations because even back then, this was, it's a little bit ago. I think today the access is getting stronger and better because we're so proven. But it was such a journey to learn how to take the no's, turn it into a positive, and move on to the next yes. And it has been, character build for me along the way, and especially to be in an industry that's like pretty capital intensive, so you're constantly raising money as you grow because you're funding working capital, and it's like this whole different game. And I can tell you that with my second venture, it took me like less than 3 weeks to raise all the money that we needed because I had a win under my belt. So
Yeah.
I can tell you that it gets easier.
Yeah.
And there are a lot more of us now as comps for success. So I think we all need to go out there and be proud of our big wins.
Absolutely.
Because it helps people believe in the next generation of us that haven't yet had their first one. But yeah, I think fundraising is, regardless of who you are, male or female, it's not going to be easy. You have to do it, and you got to keep going until you get what you need to make your business happen.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I think we can all agree that elevating women's businesses, investing in women's business has the potential to change the world. And thank you both for being such incredible role models to us all.